All right, guys, let's talk a little bit more about training. We've talked already about press conferences and about dealing with the board and some of the other stupid things that show up in Football Manager. This one doesn't drive me nuts that much, but it is just so artificial and it's so poorly done. Let's go through it here together, shall we? So I have the game open. This is in between matches. This is the scouting's finished for Abdul Wahid, who we're never going to sign because meh. We go over here now to training week in review. And you know how this one goes, right? So you can see all of the good performances. All the performances were good. There were no bad performances. And you're supposed to do this. You go here and you praise him, and he says thanks. And you go to the next one. You go to interaction, and you praise player for training development. Put your arm around him and say thanks, good job. And you go to this one too. Interaction, speak about, praise player. Let's see where it is. Here we go. Praise training and development. Good, you did a good job. And then we go over here. Oh, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing for these guys over here on the under-19 squad, right? We only have like 6 guys on the under-19 squad, but we're going to do this as well. Don't ask me why the person who created this even created an under-19 squad, because all the computer manager teams only have 20 players. Now we can go over to Jamel Cole, and we put our arm around him and say, you didn't train well. And, oh, look, his morale went up slightly. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it goes way down, and then you have to yell at him and then fine him or do all sorts of other stupid stuff, right? But that's it. This is what the interaction is like with the players, right? So if we go over to somebody who we have a lot of interaction with, like Grant Martin, who's, 16 years old and who's been on the first team for a while, and who's looking really good, who has a bunch of good performances, I think. Let's take a look and see. Yeah, I mean, he's been generally very, very positive. I'm not seeing a lot of poor performances going all the way back to that Washington State game. I don't know why we started him there. Who knows? I'll blame the assistant manager on that one. If you look at this guy and you look at sort of his information, I think is where I need this. No, here we go. Happiness. Relationship is very close. How did this relationship get so close, right? I'll tell you how. It's because when he trained well, I went over to him and patted him on the head and said, good job. Or if he had a good match, I told him afterwards when he got the man of the match, you did a good job. All of a sudden, we have a close relationship. Now, I mean, what is that about, right? What does that have to do with anything? Is that the way that you build a relationship in real life? Is that realistic? If I had a team of a bunch of guys, would I build a great relationship with them because I went over and said, you did a good job in that match that we won? I mean, there's got to be some other way that you can build a relationship with your players and you can have actual interactions with them, right? I mean, as it stands right now, the interaction that you have with these players is just nothing. I don't talk about these players about anything else at all unless they tell me, hey, you should probably praise, like, the guy's recent form or something like that. I guess I did do that for him. I could praise his conduct, but doesn't it really matter? Nothing happened. He didn't do anything, right? I mean, whatever. That's the thing. Whatever. I mean, it's pretty dumb, and it's a pretty bad system. It would be great if there was some sort of interaction. Like for example, if we go over to training, I know, here I am with the meme training schedule or whatever, but if I were going to build in something like, I don't know, extracurricular and team bonding, it would be nice to have some sort of event that comes up so that I can do something to get to know the players, right? Or have some sort of real interaction with them. As it stands now, the only interaction you have is either pat them on the head for good training or say good job after a match, or if they did something stupid, to find them or to yell at them and then wait for them to get upset and then get half the club upset with you, right? I mean, it's just so dumb. It's such a basic system, and like there's really nothing to it, and I just get bored going through it over and over again because it's so repetitive. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. So, I mean, this is something else that really Football Manager and Sports Interactive really need to fix at some point in time. It would be nice to have a system that actually works. I can show you stuff you may or may not know about, right? So if you go over to my profiles and you go to relationships, you'll see that you get relationships with tons of people. Look, Grant Martin's at the top, very close. All these guys are very close. There's some guys who are distant, but these are guys who are like playing abroad or something like that. I don't know. Who is Garcia? Oh, this is this guy. I don't even know who this guy is. He must be, he's a agent. That's what's going on. So he's an agent for somebody. This is another agent, right? So who cares? Oh, I have a distant relationship with a bunch of agents. Like, there you go. Right. And some of these guys are guys you've never heard of. And so they're acquaintances because I don't go talk to them and say, you did a good job. The journalists all love me because I talk to them at every press conference and I say the same thing, which is the same positive thing. And they feel like we have a very close relationship. Right. But it's also artificial. Right. It would be nice if you could interact with somebody afterwards. In fact, it would be really nice if I could go over here. I could use my contract, which is for, $3,800 a week, which is pretty good money. right? It would be nice though if I could use some of that contract and be like, oh, okay, with this $2,500, I'm going to spend like $200 on dinner hanging out with some journalist or something like that, and then have some sort of interaction with them in the game instead of having the same stupid press conference come up time and time again. I'm just saying, man, there's got to be something else that they can do. When you see this talked about on the forums and Sports Interactive comes out with like their official statement about this or that thing or whatever, like what they'll usually talk about is something like, oh, it's so difficult for us to do this because everything has to be translated and we have in all these different languages and stuff. Man, that's just a bunch of excuses. Like, who cares? Who cares that you have to translate the thing and you got to do this stupid work or that stupid work? I want to have something that has a little bit more, creativity behind it. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The people who create this game for Sports Interactive really need to play some actual RPGs and look at what NPC interaction is like and think maybe there's some other way that we can do this that advances the storyline and creates a more natural relationship. I don't just want the game to tell me that I have a close relationship with Grant Martin. I want to actually feel like I know who he is. I don't know anything about him, right? We can go over here as I go back to the screen. We can go over here, and I'm on the wrong screen, over here to the squad screen, and look at Grant Martin, look up his information. The only thing I know about him is that he's from Kansas City, Missouri, and he speaks English and Spanish fluently, and that's about it, right? I know that he doesn't have an agent, right? I mean, he's eligible for the United States. That's it, right? I mean, like, I don't feel like I actually know the person. All I know is that he has a couple of these things about him. He has a couple of attributes or whatever, and that's it. So anyway, we need to have a better system. This system sucks. It's boring, and it just turns this game into a slog. The games themselves are fine, but it would be nice to have some interaction that's actually meaningful. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye.